Good morning, folks. The real Captain Kirk here, live from Weather Trends 360 studio here in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. It is 11th of November, Veterans Day. Salute out to all my fellow veterans. I actually could remember this some 30 years ago and a week ago today, taking the oath of office, and I thought I'd share that with you. It just simply states that I, Captain Kirk, do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, that I will take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office on which I'm about to enter. So help me God. Again, hard to believe that was some 30 years ago. My little one had her race for education, and they actually honored the veterans here this morning, so we're a little late here with this morning's video. But again, it was good to see some fellow veterans there, and nice weather, so can't complain about that. Little one didn't much care about all the hoopla in the ceremony, but let's just run, Daddy, run. So we did the race and did a lap around the school there, so she had a great time here this morning. So we're a little late here today. Looking at the 14-day animation here of world temperatures, again, you can see the major blast of what will be record cold invading the east here. The good news, it's a few days of extreme cold, but then we see a moderating trend here. So you can see that the U.S. Pretty much by the end toward the end of next week, we're actually starting to look at most of the country pretty warm, and we'll break that down here in just a second. Looking at the precipitation again, you can see a couple storms here. But once those exit, the U.S. gets pretty dry, and then if you look over toward Europe, we see a barrage of storms, about 3, 4, 5 systems impacting different parts of Europe over the next 2 weeks. So they're going to take the stormy weather here after we get one more big storm here coming up here tomorrow, mostly an inland snow event. We'll talk about those snow totals here in a second. Looking at this week overall, 11 through 17 November, frigid in the east, obviously, for the week overall, and warm and hot out west. 1.3 Fahrenheit warmer than last year. That still makes it 6th coldest in 30 years, so much below average nationally. A little map inset left there is temps versus last year. So again, much above in the west and much warmer than last year. East is actually obviously cold, and pockets of colder than last year. Overall, drier than last year nationally, 6th driest in 30 years, below average precipitation. Snowfall is about 7% less than last year, but even though we're below average precip, we're actually much above average snowfall with an inland snowstorm here for the Northeast that we'll talk about next. This next week here, looking at the 18 through 24 November time frame, about 0.7 Fahrenheit warmer than last year, and this makes it the warmest in 15 years. So this is a pretty big change. As that cold air comes in, a lot of times you flush it all out. That looks to be the case here. So next week, 4th warmest in 30 years, much above average national temperatures. Map inset left there shows, again, much warmer than last year for this third-ish week of November. Wettest in 4 years nationally, 7th wettest in 30 years, so above average rainfall. But you see that snow inset left there. It looks like the stormier weather for snow is going to head back to the Rocky Mountains here next week. So we're getting a reprieve on the snow here, which has been pretty off to a fast start here. Looking at season-to-date snowfall, actually, it's the most snowfall since we count from about September 1st through today. Snowy start 19 years nationally on an index basis, so 5th most in 30 years and 64% above average for this index, national index. So it's been very, very snowy, obviously, out in the Rockies and the Plains. Added some in the Northeast, and we're going to add some more here as we talk about here over the next 24 to 48 hours. Looking at snow cover here this morning, still above average about 12.8% of the country should have snow on the ground this time of year. We're at 16.8%. So the least in several years, but again, still above average nationally. If we look at these maps in motion here, we'll see the big storm system moving through the Midwest and starting to see some of that snow invade the Northeast. This is for today. And then we look at Tuesday. There had been some discussion that this might actually be more snow for the coastal areas of the Northeast, but that's not the case. This is definitely going to be a well inland, heavy snow bands. Some of this is lake effect, Buffalo, Erie. But again, heavy snow of 8 to 12 plus inches is going to be well inland, away from the big Washington to Boston corridor. Jump ahead to Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and then we'll run through these one more time. So here's nothing by the weekend. In fact, we're going to get much below normal snowfall here going into next week. So here today, the big storm here, again, is mostly for the inland Appalachian Mountains, higher terrain. Again, but not much for the D.C. to Boston corridor. Maybe a dusting, a coating here outside 360 studio here in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. But again, not a ton of snow for us either. So we'll end here Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And the next week we're going to be talking more warm weather and less snow. So with that, folks, we hope you have a great week. And we will be back here this time next week.